Hi everyone. Today I want to talk about stress. The things we need to know about stress. I am not a scientist. I am just someone who loves to learn things that are going to help me find peace of mind. It's going to help me find simple ways of becoming more efficient. So when I heard all of this different information lately, I felt compelled to sit here and share it with you. So what do we need to know about stress? All right, so first we need to understand that when we are in an environment where we don't feel safe, the natural response of your body is to go into a fight and flight mode. And of course, it uses the hormones of adrenaline to do that. It needs a lot of energy to do that. And in the way we feel that response is we're stressed. So for a moment, imagine that you have a job where you go in and your boss all of a sudden comes and throws something at your table and says, this needs to be done by the end of the week. And as soon as you see it, you see that it's way too much to finish during that time. But then right away, okay, the mind comes in because in that moment, your body right away responds automatically. You have no control over this. And it knows that whatever you're being given is impossible to finish it by then. And even if you do, still requires a lot of actions that you normally don't want to do, doing it. Because that's the nature of change, like we're living in a reality that everything is always changing, but there are times when we just don't want to, and the nature of having to do something differently, it stresses us out. And anytime you find yourself saying, I'm stressed, you're saying my body in a state of fight and flight. My body is responding to an environment that it doesn't feel safe. And this is what the mind does. It sends the signals right away to the body. Ooh, something is not right. Why? Because the mind, it's responding also to the information and not in a positive way. So you're now feeling like, oh my God, as soon as your mind hears you got to do this by the end of the week, the mind right away sends the information to the body, and the body responds automatically in that way. And now here you are having to do things that you haven't been doing differently in order to fulfill that expectation. Now what happens is that animals do the same thing. So if you notice an animal, when they are in an unsafe environment, right away their hair stands up. And then let's say that they get into a fight. They fight, and once they're done, you notice that that animal goes and hides, finds a place or an environment where they feel safe again, and they go to sleep. That tells you right there that that is the way to help the body recharge. So the animal intuitively, they know that they have to rest to help the body and the cells recharge. They don't go and eat. If you notice, the animals don't go and eat after their fight. They go and rest. Now ask yourself, what do you do when you're stressed? A lot of times, and this is the habit that we've created. So we're now dealing with this, situation at work. We have to perform. And we have 8 hours of work for the most part. And then in our heads, right, our mind is going crazy, because it's the first one that rebels against the idea of having to do this. I'm just using that as an example, so, flow with me in this. Then we start creating all kinds of stories, right? Because the mind is designed to cope in the best way possible with the situation, to keep the rest of the body cool, calm, within that environment, okay? So it's like, the mind right away sends the signal to the body, hey, there's trouble here. And then when the body is ready, now the mind is trying to find ways, how can we cope with this to keep the system down? the mind never says, oh, I overreacted. No, it always, and then it creates all of these different stories. But we are being trained that we regurgitate things, especially those things that make us feel good, as if that is the way that eventually we will feel better. So we've learned to think that the more we talk about a problem, the better it's going to get. And it doesn't happen that way. So right now, we're starting to learn that we are energy, electric energy, and it's magnetic in nature. That electric currents are magnetic in nature. So we're basically a symphony of different types of energy that come together to play a musical, piece. And sometimes the music could be in tune and sometimes out of tune. So imagine when you're not operating at your best, your musical tones are offbeat, big time. And no wonder you feel tired, because your body is using a lot of energy. So, when we go through those moments of a lot of stress and we cannot come down or we cannot change, this is why we get hangry. This is why we get angry. Yes, we do. Okay, that wants to come out. But we get hungry too. And it's because the body is using a lot of energy. And this is when we crave sugar and carbs. And most likely we don't crave the good sugar. Sometimes it's the worst sugar, but that's because it's enough to make the body right away respond. And this is when you hear, oh, I got a rush. Kids got a rush by eating candy. And then you crash, and it's true. It's not the best of sugar that is going to keep the body functioning properly. But anyway, so here we are, we go through this problem, and then when we get out of work, we continue to talk about the problem. And science have now been able to demonstrate that there's no difference for the mind when you're observing something and when you're actually doing it. So if you are observing a movie or you're watching a movie and there's a lot of, killing, or you're scared because of the movie, you're in it. The body, it's going through the motions as if you're part of the movie. In the same way that if you were to go through the experience. So now imagine when you get out of that job and you find a friend and you tell them your problem, and then you go to your house and you tell the spouse the same story. And that's what we do. We continue to talk about the story to the point that it becomes second nature. It becomes programmed in our emotional space or hard drive. And a lot of times it's not like you have to go and search for all the memory in the memory bank. What happened? Your mind just does it, like right away. It can access it right away in the same way the computer does when you're opening a page, right? So you talk about it and you're reliving the experience, and your body is responding in the same way. Now, as you think that for a moment, imagine doing this day by day, okay? Because now you have 3 other days where you're being asked to perform at your best. Now you have talked about the same issue for a very long time, and your body's been in fight and flight mode, and that's why you're feeling stressed. Now you have to go to sleep. And you're not sleeping really well, because one of the things that we know is that when we sleep, the consciousness doesn't sleep, continues on. But the mind, on the other hand, can pick up a lot of noise. And a lot of times those conversations of the minds are going on in the background, and we hear it as static. And that's what makes us tired. So a lot of times after work, we don't seem to be able to be very good at transitioning from a state where we're using a lot of adrenaline to not use any at all. And as we're talking about the same situation, we're now continuing to use adrenaline. Maybe not the same amount, but we still are. So we soothe ourselves. And a lot of times, as I said, sugar and carbs. Sometimes we go and sit in front of the TV. Oh, I need to relax and and just let go, and we're recharging with something in TV that is not necessarily the most positive thing, or talking to our best friend, or whatever it is that we choose to do. But the idea is that we continue to think about it, and sometimes not consciously, sometimes it's subconsciously, and now we have recorded that incident in our subconscious mind, and it's there. So we go to sleep and we wake up, and a lot of times we don't wake up feeling rested, and the first thing that comes into our mind is once again the same story. Oh, I gotta go to work, and doing that. And as soon as you do that, my friends, you're accessing the information and your body goes into that same mode. And this is the thing, a lot of times we don't think we're stressed, but our body is, and that's what's tricky, that the mind can actually fool you to believe that you're okay when you're not. And the reason why I know this is because when I do meditation, one of the things you start seeing is to which levels sometimes your body goes to in order to function. It's incredible. So from the moment you're waking up, you're going by default back into that same space, and your body's in fight and flight mode. And we do this for days. We do this for days where we have no clue that our body's behaving in that way. And long term, this is when we start feeling sick. Studies now have proved that in the way your heart, the rhythm of your heart behaves, determines the quality of your immune system. So if you're being challenged emotionally, the musical tone of your heart will weaken your immune system, and this is how we get sick. It's not because of the germs, how people think. No, it's your immune system. Also, when your immune system is low, your mind becomes incoherent. So now imagine when you're at this level, not being aware, and you're being asked to make a decision. Now, this is where this concept of energy centers comes in. We have these energy centers that people call chakra. You can call it whatever you like. But when these energy centers are out of alignment, you're incoherent. You do not have what it takes to find and make a decision, to find an answer and make a clear decision. I mean, you can still do it, but from the moment that you're making that decision that you're not sure. I'm not sure if this is the right way to go about. So this is an aspect of our lives today that we do a lot of, and we haven't fully understood what it is. So it's important that we start, educating ourselves. I personally feel like there's nothing more exciting to me than to know that I can wake up in the morning and have some control about the things that I think and how I'm going to allow for my body to behave. At least for me. Not everybody's the same, but that's all right. I'm still posting this information because I feel there's a lot of people out there that are not taking the time to do this research. And they're just, living on default. And it's kind of a shame because you're really not letting your full potential come through. I have a younger daughter who's a nurse, and she works in labor and delivery. And as soon as she was done with her degree, she went, she went to work. Now, her job is not just about delivering babies. Her job is also about communicating. So it's communication, it's customer service. She's the mediator between the doctors and the people. And at some point, she's put in situations where she has to decide on which side am I on. And she always says, I'm on the side of the patient. But how do I handle when, I'm not in the side of the physician? So there's conflict in that, and the conflict is, how am I going to communicate when I know that something is not right? So she didn't have years of experience about how to learn to communicate properly in situations like that, and now she's being expected to perform in a situation where there's always, a lot of chaos. There are many things that are happening at once when a woman is having a baby. So she struggles a lot with how to not become so emotionally involved, where, she's frustrated. And this is where, a lot of times we have to learn, because being frustrated in a situation that requires a lot of clarity and also the ability to communicate properly, you got to be very careful, because you could say the wrong thing or you could say the right thing, and people can view it as you're stepping on my toes. So they don't necessarily, respond, oh, you're right. They actually respond, ego-oriented, like, what are you trying to tell me? They take it very personally. So a lot of times I can see how she goes home and the stress level are so high that she doesn't know how to calm herself down enough to be able to have a decent night of sleep. And now she's got to get up the next day and do the same thing and be expected to perform at her best. When in reality, she's starting to feel exhausted because her body goes from one environment to the next, feeling stress and not being able to relax enough to recuperate and rejuvenate. So, what to do in these situations, my friend? I feel like one of the best options that you have in a situation like this is to take a moment of a break, and this is a life and death moment, okay, where you have to say, I have to go to the bathroom because I'm having a stomach ache, and go in there and make some, take some deep breathing exercises, like you inhale deeply and then you exhale and make that longer and slowly, and exhale through the mouth. And you could do that 5 to 7 times, and then do some inhaling where you hold your breath, count to 5, and exhale once again, intentionally releasing the stress. And that will definitely will calm the nerve system down right away, at least enough to get you to be coherent again, right? To have the clarity, the mental clarity to respond to the situation in a better way, much, much better. So that's an option. That's an emergency response that you could do when you start, becoming more conscious of how your body is responding as the day goes on in whatever environment you're in. I mean, we have to be realistic. Most of our days at our job, we spend most of our life working. And if you're in an environment where you don't feel good and you've been doing that for a long time, oh, you're in trouble, because that means that now you've gotten used to working in an environment that is stressful, and your body is doing that, and now you've become very used to be stressed. And this is when I hear this a lot, and it's so sad when I see people saying, I've worked for 20 years in this company, and yes, I make very good money, but look at all the problems I have physically and my health. I've met people like that, where they have all kinds of issues and they have to get their ovaries taken down, they have to have all kinds of surgery. But I am in this 20-year job where I make good money. I am so unhappy. And let's face it, we are right now at a time in our evolution, thank God, that we don't have to do that anymore. Okay? We're starting to feel like there's more to life than just giving the best of ourselves in an environment that is not good for us. Thank God that our planet's vibration is changing and is helping us see life from a very different perspective, to love ourselves more, to find situations and opportunities that are more in tune with who we want to be. Because we definitely all have an incredible potential of change. Everything in life is about changing, but change to what? So thank goodness to that. Thank goodness that we also have the technology that we can make this video and share our experiences and our knowledge and learn from one another, right? Thank God that, this is the moment in time where we have access to all kinds of information. So choosing to remain ignorant is definitely a choice, but it doesn't have to be. So we are all doing our thing, and we're all walking our path, and we have to at some point ask ourselves, am I happy? Is this what I want? And if I'm not, what can I do? What can I learn that is going to help me become more efficient, become more holistic, love myself more? Because ultimately it's all about that. So when we live a life of stress, we already know, okay, that the end result of that life is disease. We know that. We don't have to go down that path anymore because we know that already. Our scientists know that. Our healthcare system knows that. Everybody knows that. Now, what are we going to do about it? Because this is where I feel like everybody gets stuck. We get very used to talking about the problem, and we do it over and over and over and over. And it's like, all right, I get it. Our politicians do this. They're always talking about what we need to do in order to, change our system. And then when it's time to do it, they do something else. And still we are wasting our time trying to figure out, who is the leader that is going to help us, finally change our reality. And it's like, no, I mean, if that's the way you're going, I'm not here to judge you. But it's like, what can you do? What are the little things that you do or have control over that can make you a better person and become an example to others? And stress, my friends, the hormones of stress is what makes us old. And it doesn't matter. You can have a body of a younger person, and if you're living a life of stress, your body's organism, it's like an old person. It's been proven. So everything that I'm telling you is based on facts, where now we have the technology to be able to see it. Okay? This is not just to imagine, it's to see it. So now we're after youth. We want to look younger, so we do all of these external things to help us remain looking younger, when there's the most direct way of doing that is also being discovered. I like to talk, these are things that come, inspirations that come spiritually or intuitively, whatever you want to call it, but it's things that I've already known for a long time, and now having science to back it up, it makes me feel very excited. Like if you feed your soul with the right food, you can actually minimize the hormones of stress and still look younger. Of course, you're not going to look like, a 20-year-old, but you can slow the process down. And who knows what could happen, 100 years from now, or maybe 50. We may find the formula. But in the meantime, we are doing baby steps. We have to change, and it's happening with baby steps. And it's to understand that you are a human being that is electrical and magnetic. Your emotions and your thoughts count, and they have to cooperate and work together. And when they don't, you're creating chaos, and your body gets stress. And stress is not an option. It's not an energy that can help you function better and efficiently, period. So what can I do to change it? This is not about, just paying attention to what other people are doing. It's you paying attention to yourself, and what are the choices that I have to not live this way. And you got to start somewhere. And then as you start feeling more together, because that's what happens, you start feeling more together and more relaxed. Now you're more clear, and now your body's ability to receive information is better. We are walking antennas, I always say that. But when you start then receiving information that is beyond your environment and is better, wouldn't you use it? And this is what we know as inspiration, where people all of a sudden, I've known homeless people that become very successful because they had one night, a night of the darkest night of the soul, and they surrender to the power of God. I don't like sometimes to use that word because, you know, it has too much negative connotation, but they surrendered to the power of all knowing, and all of a sudden they had an insight, and they were able to write a book, or they were able to understand something in a better way, and now, you know, they went about it and follow that path. We all have that opportunity. We all have what it takes. But we have to first know what is the formula. What do we need to do in order for us to be able to have access to that information? And one of them is you can't live in stress. And you do it all the time and you don't even know it. And sometimes you get really used to being in that emotional space and you don't know it either. And you talk about it as this no big deal. A lot of times people use diseases as a means to get the attention. It's my way of saying, ooh, you got to be careful with me because now I have this condition and, you know, poor me. So they're using the disease not necessarily in a healthy way, but to get the attention that they didn't get before. That's not healthy either, my friends. And I'm not saying that all of you are doing this. Please don't take this personally. I'm very passionate about the things that I see and feel and believe, but it's not directed to anyone. I'm just sharing here what I know, hoping that you take the message in whatever way that can help you and fit in your life to make it better. That's my intention. And if you don't, it's okay. I'm not offended. But it's the things that I see around me and with the people that I love and the people that I know. So we have to then start finding methods. I find for me, meditation is a great tool. I've done meditation for a long time. I've tried different types of meditation. And, you know, I continue to do that and I see what it does to me and to my body, especially when I haven't done it for a while. You know, I become more clear, clear-headed. And it allows me to make better decisions. It also allows me to talk to people in a better way without having my emotions, right, get in the way, those musical tones that are out of tune, because people can feel it. When you're out of tune, you guys, you can have the biggest smile in your face and still your music is out of tune, and people know, and you know what I'm talking about. So it's no use trying to pretend that things are great. So the question is, when you wake up in the morning, how can you take control of your emotions and your life where you don't have to, by default, go once again into that stress mode? And this is where you have to decide. Research. Don't leave that on the hands of somebody else, of your politicians or your family members or your doctors. You do it yourself. Now we are knowing that we have an incredible mechanism. Our body has the ability to clean itself out, just like an oven. You know, those self-cleaning ovens, that's what our body does. And it is actually better and more efficient to move beyond our way of thinking and with this elevated emotions change our reality than actually do it matter to matter, like finding the options that we normally go to in order to change ourselves. Sometimes we do it, you know, with pills. You know, I'm stressed, I'm going to take a pill to calm me down, and I don't have anything against them. It's just that it's not as efficient. Eventually we still continue to struggle and the cause of the problem doesn't go away, and we know this. So, you know, we're moving in a direction as consciousness in a society where we're evolving and finding options that are going to work better for us. And now we're learning that, hey, incorporating, you know, the soul aspect in our everyday life, it's become the thing. Because the soul seemed to be able to respond with information that is more on point than what the mind has done over the years. So I hope my information helps. You can leave comments. I hope that I have not stepped on anybody's toes as I share this information. I feel like a lot of times as I'm making this video, I feel this inspiration that comes, and sometimes I may not be able to translate it the best way possible, but this is where I'm getting better. I'm learning to work with my throat chakra, learning how to translate these downloads that I get and be better at it. English is not my first language, but, it's okay. So yes, so I hope you enjoy it, and just think next time where you're feeling like you can't breathe very well, and you're stressed out. Sometimes it takes a little bit, right, to recognize that we're stressed. So I've noticed that sometimes I can be stressed, but I'm not noticing it. So, the more you become aware of what the state of calmness is versus stress, the better you are at knowing when you are and when you're not. And it's what can I do in that moment to be able to change, that momentum into a place where I can operate better. I could be more efficient. So just keep that in mind. Breathing is the go-to. After that, you got to find other ways. And I think you're smart enough. You're brilliant. You're luminous. And you will know what to do and what will work best for you. I love you. See you next time.